It's reporting day in Latrobe. Before any of the players actually come out and face the cameras and microphones and all that other fun stuff, and we hear their actual answers, I'm going to play a little game of multiple choice with you today. Good morning. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates, and I hope you'll check those out as well. 10 a.m. today is the time at St. Vincent College when the players are loosely expected to go rolling down this one specific little road and empty some of their belongings down a ramp and a set of steps toward the dorm room where most of them, not all of them, will be staying. As I shared with you on a recent episode, I am not expecting anyone on this roster to be making any sort of extravagant entrance. There's not an Antonio Brown in this group. There's not really a Brett Kiesel in this group. There's not a James Harrison in this group. So you're not going to be seeing any sort of helicopter landings or construction cranes or school buses or whatever. But that doesn't mean news won't be made, because most of the team's more prominent players will come out and talk to those of us who are assembled there, if only to just kind of get it out of the way, but also at least partly because it's understood that everybody does this, or almost everybody does this. So here's what I've got. 3 multiple choice options for you as to which player will make the most significant news by virtue of what it is that he speaks in this setting. Not in any particular order. My A option is that Najee Harris will finally be interviewed, will finally address in public not having his 5th-year option exercised, and will finally put forth anything resembling a stance on how he feels entering this camp in that contract environment. And for the record, this is where my betting money is on this, though I also don't think it would benefit Najee to go the full Cleveland, shall we say, meaning one of those post-game episodes that he had after a game against the Browns last year where he lets everybody know in his own way that Matt Canada is the worst, that discipline is lacking, blah, 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 all that other stuff. I don't think he would do that just as the team is convening in Latrobe. Not with a new offensive coordinator, not with new quarterbacks. It would make him, and he's aware of this type of thing, look a little bit petty. B, either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields will place maybe a little bit too much of an accent on the concept of a quarterback competition, which of course would make the ensuing camp a whole lot more fun for those of us covering it or watching it. Both of them had their chance to do that through OTAs and minicamp. Neither really did. Wilson kind of found his own way to paint himself as the starter without carrying it too far. And Fields, all he did was kind of innocently say, hey, I'm here to push. I'm here to push for that job. I'm not here to just stand on the sideline for 17 games, which is exactly what you'd want any backup to say. So neither of them really rocked the boat that much in that regard. So I'm not expecting it to happen today either. But if it did, and C, I'd like to hear, and this one's just a wish, someone on the defensive side of the ball say even just a fraction of what I've been saying about this defense for a while now, and that is that there's no reason for them not to be, pardon the double negative, a top 5 defense in this league. Other than health. That's it. Other than health. If you look at every level of that defense, there's a special player. In a couple of cases, more than one special player. Why should anybody associated with that defense, whether that's the players, whether that's their positional coaches, and whether that's Mike Tomlin himself, accept anything less than the bar that I'm talking about here? Top 5 or bust. Again, barring health considerations. How many teams in this league have edge rushers like TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig? How many? How many? I know the answer. And so do you. How many teams, and this is crazy to say about this particular position since we've been down on it for so many years, but how many have the inside linebacker combo that the Steelers just might have in Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson? There are teams that have a better individual inside linebacker, but are there any that have two of these types? Is there a better young cover outside corner than Joey Porter Jr.? Is there a better safety than Minkah Fitzpatrick? How many players did I just list here out of what should be 11, acknowledging that Herbig is a backup? Set that bar where it would matter, you know? When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Today's J1Q comes from Zach, and it's in response to my opening of yesterday's Daily Shot of Steelers, in which I asked at the beginning, which offensive player do you think will see the greatest uptick in participation, in impact? I came to the conclusion that it'd be Darnell Washington, but Zach says, DK, I actually thought of Jaylen Warren first. If you put him in a misdirection zone blocking offense, wouldn't he be amazing? And Zach, I'm not going to disagree with that. I have heard people from the inside come up with all kinds of fun scenarios for how Warren would be best used. However, the one scenario that always stands out, the one that always comes up first and foremost when talking to any people in the Steelers world, by the way, including Warren and Harris themselves, is that they are, cumulatively, those two, they are most effective when they are both doing their thing. And as such, the last thing that I'd want to see is yet another addition to what's already going to be a great challenge for this exceedingly young offensive line. If you think back a few years to when the Steelers' backfield had both Le'Veon Bell and D'Angelo Williams, and I don't mean to put D'Angelo in the same class as Lev, but D'Angelo was pretty good. And when I talked to the people who were on that offensive line, they took a ton of pride, and rightfully so, in being able to block two different ways for two different backs. They felt, and by the way, so did the running backs, that it was a great strength of that offense, an underappreciated, I should add, strength of that offense. One that could beat you so many different ways with so many different players. And in this case, two very different blocking schemes. This picture that you're painting here is one in which Warren becomes the feature back, which also, by the way, would be why you would suggest that he'd be the one getting the big uptick in participation. I have a zero sense that that's going to happen. I have every sense that you're going to see these running backs work in a very similar tandem to what you saw in particular over the final, not just Mason Rudolph time, because it preceded that. I'd say the final 6 weeks to 2 months of the 2023 season. That was the rhythm that was being built with that running game, and it was being built with both backs. I would not expect that to change in any way. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everyone listening to Daily Shot of Steelers, but I really appreciate those of you who stuck it out through an entire offseason of these. In my eyes, because I'm going to be around these guys in preparation for actual football, that offseason is over right now. Let's do another one of these tomorrow.